a lot of things. There's a lot of pictures that you guys have in your handouts that I'll kind of refer to and look through with you. But I'm going to talk to you tonight about vaping. And vaping is something that has come a long way. It actually it was developed in China in 2003 and came to the US in 2006. But we didn't hear a whole lot about it then. And so I'm going to tell you about how much it's grown. I'm sure you guys probably know people that do it. You may do it yourself, so I'm going to give you some information that you can either pass on to your friends or you can think about yourself. And for the parents, I just want to give them some heads up too. So some of the stuff in here is for the parents in your packet, and some is for yourselves. So e-cigarettes is basically the name of the vaping that you're doing. E-cigarettes are battery-operated devices that heat liquid nicotine and produce a vapor, and it's inhaled. So that's it's not smoke, it's actually a water vapor. These don't contain tobacco, but they contain nicotine. And nicotine is the same as cigarettes, that's what you get addicted to very easily. It leads to probably, I don't know if it's worse addiction than cigarettes, but it's equal to cigarettes. And in youth, which is the biggest thing I'm concentrating on tonight, it can actually impair brain function. So if you think it's not bad for you, besides the pictures that you're going to look at, it can impair your brain function. The pods, there's different names for the different kinds, but one jewel pod contains as much nicotine as 20 cigarettes. So I don't know if you guys have seen them before. If you have not seen them before, they are on the back of your outline. So there's different kinds for parents to see also. There's different kinds. Vaping was it came about to try to help people quit smoking. And instead it's actually had the opposite, especially in youth. It's increased youth smoking. The researchers are concerned that the way they're marketed is what is appealing to the youth now. It's estimated that 1 in 5 high school students are now using tobacco products or vaping. E-cigarette use from 2017 to 2018 has increased 78% among high school students and 48% among middle school students. The products are being marketed to children by advertising the oils, which is what they put in the water, and they're in fun flavors. There's over 8,000 flavors. There's fruity flavors, candy flavors, dessert flavors. So that is what is appealing to all these kids. And it's also easily accessed. There's many different types of vape pens and pods. They come in all different shapes and colors, and they're as cheap as $10 each. So kids are able to afford them. The oil, or what they call e-juice, are around 2 mLs for $20. Now how long the oil lasts depends on a variety of different things. Mostly which product they use. The bigger products take more oil, and then the smaller ones less oil. It also depends on how hot the oil gets. Now, I have never done it before, so I don't know a lot about that. If anybody has any questions that I can't answer, I would definitely find the answer for you, so let me know. For someone who smokes an equivalent of 15 cigarettes a day, a 10 ml bottle, which is 2 mLs for $20. A 10 ml bottle, which is $100, could last a week. But some people go through 6 mLs a day, which is $60 a day. So cigarettes have gone up in cost, but this is way above that. The most popular brand is Juul. It's small and looks like a USB device. That's how kids are getting them in schools, and nobody's noticing because they look like USB devices. They cost between $20 and $40. The mods are larger and they deliver more nicotine. They also have vape pens that are slim like a pen and e-cigarettes that look like cigarettes. The legal age to buy e-cigarettes is 18, but they're sold online everywhere and a lot of companies don't ask for age. So that's how kids are getting a hold of them as well. Besides smoking with the mouthpiece, the youth are now doing what's called dripping. They drip the liquid onto the heating coil and make the vapor thicker and stronger so it's more harmful. So now I'm going to tell you about a few problems. One of them is explosions. And that is the picture on the second page of the lip. So these vape pens contain lithium batteries. The batteries overheat and they explode. It's not a rare thing. It happens pretty frequently. There was actually a man killed because his device exploded and it hit his jugular and slit it and he bled to death. Let's see, explosions, other oral health. The liquid contains a carrier product called propylene glycol. It's a viscous, colorless liquid, and it tastes sweet. It breaks down into acid, acetic acid, lactic acid, and it's toxic to enamel and your soft tissue. So there's another picture in here, the third page, or the back of the explosion page, that shows someone's mouth that has been vaping. So this propylene glycol also binds to water in your saliva and leads to dry mouth, which also leads to cavities and gum disease. Glycerin and flavorings also increase decay by allowing bacteria to bind to your teeth. So all of that in your mouth all the time is what causes, if parents notice more tooth decay, that's one sign. You can't smell it, so that is one thing you can look for is more tooth decay. This also contains nicotine. It doesn't contain tar, but it does contain nicotine. The percent of nicotine is lower than cigarettes, but one cartridge, which is 200 to 400 puffs, is like smoking 2 to 3 packs of cigarettes. So it becomes about equal at that point. What's been in the news a lot lately that you guys have probably seen, and I have a picture also in your handout, a couple pictures of, one of them is of a boy who's 17, who has a breathing tube down his throat because he ended up with what's called acute eosinophilic pneumonia. There was a case, one of the case studies that I read, an 18-year-old girl after 2 months of vaping ended up in this condition, only 2 months. And if you know someone that you think may be having an issue with this pneumonia, they will be coughing, difficulty breathing, chest pain, temperature, and high heart rate. And that's what this girl came in with. At first they weren't figuring out what it was, but most of these cases have been linked to vaping. So they're also calling it wet lung, and that's because basically you're inhaling vapor water into your lungs. It used to be a rare condition, but it's more common now and it can't kill you. It's a very rapidly progressing disease as well. So if you or someone you know is coughing and you're vaping, I suggest you tell someone and go to the doctor quickly. If it's caught in time, it can be treated with IV steroids, and usually you end up on the ventilator. Sometimes they have to put you in a coma with medications. So it's a pretty serious lung disease. Long-term effects, the problem is we don't know. The youth right now are the guinea pigs. Cigarettes have been around for a long time. Everybody knows what they do to you. This, we don't know. 20 years from now, when we are seeing people who started at age 10 or 12, we don't know what they're gonna be like then. We may be seeing more people who need lung transplants. We don't know, because we have no idea what effects, long-term effects this is gonna have. We do know more research has shown that it's causing damage to heart, lungs, and youth brains in development. Cancerous tumors, it's causing preterm deliveries and stillbirth for pregnant women. So all of these things that cigarettes are doing, the same thing this vaping is doing. So it's really not any better, and it's not a good alternative to cigarettes. So a few regulations I was looking at, there's a few government regulations that I wanted to tell you about. The FDA actually tried to stop the shipment of vaping products in 2008, but they didn't have authority over tobacco products at the time. So by the time the FDA could formally regulate the products, it was 2014. By then, the industry had grown so rapidly that it caused an even greater challenge to regulate it. The business and culture around vaping has developed into a $1 billion industry. And even some of the cigarette companies are now making vape products. One product that appeared to be most used by youth was Juul, and that was one of the most popular ones. 75% of the US market right now is Juul. So there's more copycats being made, which are cheaper, and so that's where the kids can get it pretty easily. In 2018, the FDA started an aggressive enforcement action against retailers who were selling to minors. They've submitted letters to the 5 largest suppliers asking them to provide a plan on how they will address the widespread youth access and use of their products. The commissioner also announced that he was directing the agency to restrict all flavors other than mint, menthol, and tobacco, and that would remove all the flavors from convenience stores, gas stations, and other common retailers. So soon we'll find out. The FDA will determine how or whether these products are going to even remain on the market. It's going to be hard to get them off the market, but that's one thing that they're working on right now because it's gotten so bad with our kids. And that's our future, is our kids. In your packet, there's an article talking about why the 17-year-old ended up in the ICU. So you guys might want to look at that. A couple signs that you can also look for: bloodshot eyes and irritability, which, teenagers, you can't tell. That's kind of whether they're irritable or not. But an increase in irritability could be a withdrawal symptom from the nicotine. But the problem is you can't smell it. There's a couple more pictures in here. Another picture of the boy. And then I also included in here a talk with your teens about e-cigarettes. So there's like some tip sheets in here for the parents. Talks about some facts. Talks about maybe how to start the conversation to see if you can get some information on whether or not they're vaping. And then the last thing I've included in the packet is I went and put in just one of the TV sites, NBC, and searched vaping, and I got so many articles that popped up. So if you want to read any articles about it, they're all over the news. So just in the last, there's one that's a year old, one that's 6 months old, but the rest of them, they're all within the last 5 to 6 months. So it's really gotten to be an epidemic, and there's a lot of people concerned about it. So if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them. If there's anything I don't know, I'll help you figure it out. You guys have any questions? Do you know a little bit more about it now? If you have a friend, can you talk to them and let them know how bad it is? Maybe try to talk about it. Everybody's quiet.
I know some of you have or do vape, so if you've got information or something that's counter to what you shared, let's hear it.
18.
Did they switch the age from 18 to 21?
As far as I know, they haven't yet.
That's in the talks.
They're trying to. They're trying to get rid of the flavors.
They don't park kids for the most part.
They what?
They just sell it to them, though, they don't really let them park them.
The problem is the gas stations and things do, because they're regulated to card for cigarettes and things like that. But if you go online, and when I was just searching for information, all these different sites pop up. And some of them you don't have to give them, you can give them any kind of information, they won't know the difference. And then kids can have it mailed to whoever.
Can I get on my soapbox, then you guys might
He's coming up, so she's on.
Absolutely.
You guys, most of you guys know that I'm a school nurse, so I'm a school nurse for grades K through 12. And one of my biggest things at our school that we're trying to deal with is the fact that it goes on in the high school. Smoking goes on in the high school. I mean, it goes on in the high school. We know it goes on. But our biggest problem at Fairfield Union is not the high school. It's our middle school, which is 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th graders. And we have, some of you guys are 6th graders. A lot of you guys are older. But even you 6th graders with the 5th graders, the problem is it's the younger kids that are really, really doing it. And she said it's odorless. We can't tell. We don't know what's going on in the bathroom. And aside from standing and having someone stand in the bathroom all day, we don't really know what's going on. But the one thing that I do know, and I don't think you guys realize what an influence you guys are, because the middle school kids look up so much to the high school kids. And I know some of us have talked about it. We've talked about it. Douglas and I talked about it last Sunday in church, that you guys understand that the nicotine is still there. The kids are looking at it the little younger kids are looking at it as, this is a way I can be cool. They're not addicted to the nicotine yet. A lot of my high school kids have already been smoking. They're addicted to the nicotine. Some of them have been using it to try to back off from the smoking. All those things that it kind of was toted for, but now it's not being used for, is out there. But the younger kids are doing it to try to be cool, to try to be like the older kids, the high school kids. And you guys are the ones, we can talk to them. I talk until I'm blue in the face with them about what they're doing to themselves. And we have a student who's a son of a person at Fairfield Union who actually was in the hospital at Children's Hospital for exactly the wet lung problem that we were talking about. So it's there, but they don't see it that way. They can't see what we're talking about. We just don't know what we're talking about. But the people that they'll listen to, guys, are you. So be an example for them. Talk to them. If you see them doing it, talk to them about the fact that it's not cool and it's not good for them. And they will listen to you. They truly will. And you can use that as one of your great ways to be a Christian influence without having to carry a big Bible under your arm or wear a big cross. It's just to talk to them about what it is that they're doing to their body and that God created their body. So I'm telling you from a staff perspective, it is really, really bothering us at the age of the kids that are actually vaping. And the worst thing for us is that our hands are really tied a lot. We don't know what's going on. They're not going to talk to us, but they'll talk brothers and sisters or whatever, and they'll talk to you guys. And you guys are the ones that are going to need to be the biggest influences in getting it stopped before they get so addicted. And then what's going to happen? They're addicted to the nicotine. What's going to happen down the road with them? Okay? Off my soapbox.
Oh, I did want to add something too. Marijuana is also being put into these now. And that's where the people are overdosing and dying. People think marijuana is not a big deal anymore because of all the other, harder drugs that are out there. But if you put THC oil in a vape pen, a lot of times they'll put too much in, and that's where we're getting people overdosing and dying all the time now from vaping, because they're not just vaping the flavored oil anymore. They're putting other things in there, and that's where people are dying, overdosing.
I get to talk to evidently. But what all I'm going to say is about addiction, and that is to all of you that think that things aren't addicting and things like when you go into the bathroom at school, and I can tell you from the teacher's perspective, we know what you're doing. I can't search every kid that's going to the bathroom, but many kids that are going to the bathroom, I'm aware that they're going to one of two things. They're going to smoke, or they're going to get on their cell phone and text somebody. I'm not an idiot. I know what you're doing when you say you're going to the bathroom, when you go every single period. I am not dumb. But it is an addiction when you go into the bathroom. And a lot of you right now, if I said, are you addicted to smoking, or are you addicted to pot and those things, you would say, no, I'm not addicted, because no one wants to admit they're addicted. I'm here to tell you is, if you're going to the bathroom and you're doing it by yourself, you're addicted, because you're not doing it because anybody else is around. You're not doing it just for you're addicted. And Any addiction to anything is bad. And you can be addicted to absolutely anything. For example, I'm addicted to food. I love food. And food is just as harmful as some of the other things that you're doing because of the fact that the food that I put into my body causes me to have health issues, have all those things. But I am addicted to food. When I am not eating, I am thinking about food. If you are sitting there wondering what I am thinking about, there is a good chance it is what I'm going to eat for my next meal. Whether that be the next day, whether it be the next hour, I am thinking about what it is I'm going to eat because I am addicted to food. A lot of you are addicted to things that are harmful in a different way. And if you are thinking about pot and you're using it as a coping mechanism, or you're using it as some sort of escape, or you're just doing it because you like how it is, but you could stop anytime you want, well, I challenge you to stop. Because my guess is you can't. My guess is you're going to sit there and say, no, I don't want to. No, the fact of the matter is you can't, which means that you are addicted to it. Are you physically addicted to it? No, you're mentally addicted to it. And it's the same thing. My guess is a lot of you that are smoking the jewels and smoking pot right now, you're not physically addicted to it yet. But if you continue, you're going to end up being extremely physically addicted to it, where when you go to stop, you are going to get sick, and you are going to cause problems, and it's going to cause you all those things, all those pains and things. Right now, you're mentally addicted to it. But when you add in doing it for a prolonged period of time, you're going to be physically addicted to it also. And while weed doesn't have a physical addiction where you're going to go through a withdrawal, you do go through a sort of withdrawal because of the fact that you think you need it. And so therefore you become paranoid when you don't have it. Your appetite is suppressed when you don't have it. All of those things are going to happen to you once you have the actual addiction. Right now you're just mentally addicted to it. So if you can break it now, you have a good shot at being successful of stopping. And if you look at someone that you want, I tell all my kids all the time that look at somebody that you want to be like when you grow up and emulate that person. My guess is when you look at somebody that you want to be like when you grow up, my guess is they are not a drunk, they are not a pothead, and they are not a drug dealer. Those things look cool now, but when you become an adult, they don't look cool anymore. And so you emulate the person that you want to be like, not the person that you don't want to be like. And that's my soapbox. So.
You guys have any other questions for Wendy before I take my soapbox?
If you're underage, yes.
Can you repeat the question?
She wanted to know if you could get into legal trouble for vaping. And I said, if you're underage, yes, because the legal age is 18.
Anything else? Parents, anything? Okay. Thank you. Thank you. All right. I want to talk to you about vaping from a spiritual perspective, because you can make lots. Oh, yeah.
I just wanted to make sure that everybody signs the signage.
I think they're on that row back there.
Okay.
I set them there. But
Okay,
did
thanks.
everybody sign a sheet? So she gets credit. Did you guys get the sign-in sheet over here? Okay. I want to talk about it from a spiritual perspective because you could make all kinds of arguments, perhaps. I don't think you can make good arguments, but you can make arguments that maybe it's better than smoking cigarettes, or it's helping me get off cigarettes, or you can make whatever kind of argument you want. I'm not vaping nicotine, I'm just vaping flavors, or whatever. The reality is, you're putting a foreign substance into your body. Christians, if you are a believer, what is your body?
It's a temple.
It's a temple of the Holy Spirit. So you're putting something in your temple that was not intended on being in your temple. So you are desecrating the temple of the Holy Spirit. You're desecrating your body. 1 Corinthians 6, 19 and 20 says, "Do you not know that your body is a temple of the Holy Spirit within you, whom you have from God? You are not your own, for you were bought with a price. So glorify God in your body." Okay, and Andrew talked about, wherever he went, talked about addictions and stuff. Obviously, I have a food addiction too. All right, I am not glorifying my body. We'll have the young Mrs. Store talk about that one day. Okay, because obviously I'm not glorifying my temple the way that I should be glorifying my temple either. Okay, but we have to make decisions as Christians Are you going to stand 100% for God? And if you are, and you are knowingly doing something that's desecrating the temple of the Holy Spirit, then you're not 100% sold out for God. Don't tell me you are. Okay? Say I'm working on it. I have an issue. I have a food issue. I'm a food, what's the AA thing? I have a problem. I don't know. Anyway, I'm working on it. I need to get better because I need to honor God physically, spiritually, emotionally, with all that I am. Okay? So recognize that you are desecrating your body. I just want to give you a couple other verses. 1 Corinthians 6:12 says, I have the right to do anything, but everything is not beneficial. I have the right to do anything, but I will not be mastered by anything. Okay? This is the Apostle Paul talking. What's he saying? I have the right to do anything. I mean, you have freedom, right? You can make choices. God gives you the choices to make. Okay? But then it goes on to say, but not everything's beneficial. So I have the choice. It's my body, right? How many times have we heard that? It's my body. I can do whatever I want. And I can do that, but that doesn't mean it's beneficial. And that doesn't mean that God is necessarily pleased with it. And then the mastery thing goes back to the addiction stuff and being addicted. All right? Everybody close their eyes. You don't really have to. But I want you to be honest. How many of you have been addicted to vaping or to just, you can keep your eyes open. Anyone? Okay? It happens, and thank you for being honest about it. And there's withdrawal, real withdrawal that happens because of that. Because anytime you sin against your body, anytime you sin against the temple of the Holy Spirit, there are consequences. And so, going through withdrawal, going through some of those physical consequences, some of the disease states and stuff that Wendy was talking about, is a consequence, a spiritual consequences for not being obedient to doing the things that God says we should do. Is he punishing us because of the consequences? Is he saying, I smite thee with lung disease? Is that what God's doing? No. But we live in a physical world with physical consequences to making those decisions. When God tells us to honor our bodies because we're the temple of the Holy Spirit, he's telling us, hey guys, this is great information because if you do this, you don't have to worry about some of that other stuff that you have to worry about in life. Okay? So the Bible is not just a set of rules and regulations to make your life miserable. God knows the physical world because he created it. And he knows the physical consequences because it's part of his creation. Well, we won't get into that. That's a whole other list. But, okay. The other thing that we need to recognize is that who is the ruler of this world? Who's the ruler? Of this world. Of the earth, the world. Lucifer, Satan, the devil. Okay? We are in a world that is under the influence of the devil. And he is the father of lies. Right? Very first lie. What's the very first lie he told? Satan. That apple's not going to hurt you. It's going to open your eyes. It's good for you. You'll open your eyes, Eve, and Adam, and you'll see things from God's perspective. So what's the lie Satan tells about vaping and health-related things? It's a good alternative. This isn't going to hurt you. Guys, let's be real. Do you think that the people who are making billions of dollars care about you?
No.
They don't. Your generation is supposed to be the anti-corporation generation. Okay, and anti-corporate, you guys, well not you, but like college-age kids, they keep like protesting and all that stuff, but they're the ones using this garbage, and they're the ones that are slaves to this stuff, yet they're the ones that don't want to be slaves to the corporate world. You can't live in both places. Okay, wake up. They don't care about you. The devil doesn't care about you. He doesn't care what you do to your body. He doesn't care if you're destroying yourself. Don't fall under that. Resist the devil. What happens if you resist the devil? What happens if you resist the devil? He tries harder. But what happens? He has to flee. If you tell him, get out, he has to flee. Okay? Okay? So resist the devil. Resist the temptation to dishonor the Holy Spirit, dishonor your body. My hope is for you guys to be Christians that are totally sold out to Jesus, and that want to be living fully for God and His purpose. And let me ask you this question: is it easier to be a Christian, or is it easier to be cool and in the world?
In the world. Cool.
Yeah, and I don't know if I talked about this last week at our Bible study, I don't remember. But sometimes people look at Christians and they say, oh, you're just a bunch of weak people. You're just weak, all right? It's not weak to be a Christian. It's hard to be a Christian. It is hard to live up to the standards of the Bible and the standards of holiness. And I will tell you that those of you who are living up to a standard of purity in your lifestyle, with vaping, sex, any kind of purity standard, you are much stronger than the average kid that's out on the street, that's living in this world, that's participating in the things of this world. Be strong. Man up, woman up, whatever up, okay? And if you want to be a Christian, be sold out. If you don't want to be a Christian, at least admit that you're not all in, and stop playing the mind games with yourself that you're all in. Okay? Decide where you're going to stand. Because if you stand in the middle, what happens? Lukewarm. What happens in the book of Revelation if you're lukewarm? You get spewed out. Decide, I'm going to be hot or I'm going to be cold. I'm going to live for Jesus or I'm going to live for this world. Make the decision of where you're going to stand, and then plant your feet and stand there. And when you mess up, and I eat Big Mac,
Yep.
I didn't today, but okay, admit it and say, I messed up and I got to stop eating food that's not good for me, food that's not healthy for me. But decide where you're standing and live there with conviction. All right.